Hey, what's happening?
How's it going?
Going good. How you doing, Fulton? Well, we got Fulton and we got Forrest.
Yeah.
What's happening, Dr. Scott? So, I tell you what, you've called me worse. You've called me much worse before. So
I don't think I have, Fulton.
I actually hadn't. Not to my face.
Not
to my face. Maybe when you hung up the phone, but no, just kidding. Good to see you today, Forrest. Good to see you as
Fulton,
well.
nice to meet you.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Forrest, we got a good guest today.
Yes.
He's no stranger to the media.
Okay.
I've seen him in front of the TV camera at least once or twice.
Gotcha.
Hey, now you're not talking about me, okay?
Rick Roberts.
He's always in the house.
Always in the house.
Always available.
Hey, what you got to say before we get started? You got anything? Because we get started going.
Well, I actually think today's show is going to be very interesting.
Yes.
Yep, it is going to be good. We got Forrest Blake. He's a local celebrity. He is a trained killer in the art of wrestling.
Wow.
Now, here's the thing. I study fitness, I study health, and I know for a fact that wrestling is the best sport for fitness and longevity overall. Am I right or wrong, Forrest?
I think you're very right, Dr. Scott, because one of the things that wrestling does is it teaches you discipline, not just in your sport, but in controlling your weight, in season, those kinds of things. It's a very disciplined, hardcore sport. It's not one you necessarily do your whole life, but it is something that you develop habits that last you a lifetime.
That's awesome. I study martial arts, have since I was 5 years old, but I never did wrestling. I'm from a small town in Dillon County called Lakeview. So if you didn't play football, you were a drugstore cowboy. And that was me. I wish I had wrestling.
I'll tell you a little side. When I was recruiters, military recruiters will come to the school sometimes, and the naval recruiters always came to me first to talk to me. And I finally got up the courage to ask them why. And they said, wrestlers, we have found, if you got a wrestler that is interested in the military, we have found, and you guys know what SEAL training is, Bud-S training.
Yeah, that's right.
That they have about a 90% dropout of everybody who goes in. But wrestlers, if they get in the program, have about an 85% graduation rate from Bud-S training. Because they already have the physical and mental discipline that most people don't have going into that.
That's amazing.
That's awesome.
That's good. That's good to know.
Wrestling creates just brute strength in people,
it is.
Son.
And the longevity, so I'm with you. In high school, we didn't have that opportunity, especially as a structured sport. Now, recreationally, everybody was always playing around. But you'll remember, man, 30 seconds worth, and you were fatigued. And these guys haven't even started yet. So it is everybody I've ever met who was big into wrestling when they were young. They have a discipline in their life that is really like no other. Very similar to the military.
So Forrest Blake is the head coach at Carolina Forest High School.
Yes, sir.
Head coach for wrestling. And I met Forrest. I'll be honest with you, Forrest, I can't remember where and when we met.
We met for the first time at a Rio's dinner party.
Oh, we went to dinner. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then came after that and got an evaluation just a little over a year ago, probably July of last year.
Okay.
For stem cells.
Okay.
And then
you had your shoulders were blown. Am I right?
Left shoulder and both knees.
Okay. Left shoulder and both knees.
And then early August, I had both knees shot up and my left shoulder shot up. And by start of wrestling season in November of that same year, I was back on the mat working out with my guys.
Now, that's what I do remember.
Yes.
I do remember talking to you, and one of your goals, we're all about helping people out, get out of pain and get their bodies working, but I'm really interested in what do you want? What do you really want? Nobody really just wants stem cells, okay? You want something out of life. It's affecting your life. We actually call it the ruin. What's their ruin? Why is it ruining their life? And I remember, Forrest, you saying, I'm the coach. And I can do it in my head, and I'm teaching these kids these maneuvers, but I can't show them, and I can't do it with them. He said, I don't want to fight them. He said, but I want to be able to show them how to do it, and I want to get back on the mat. And that was the goal.
That was my goal, Dr. Scott. Exactly right. I have been a wrestling coach for a long, long time. Actually, if you go back to high school, I did several sports, and then I was a college football player. Came out, my school did not have wrestling, and we started a wrestling program eventually. And I was in my 30s then, and so getting on the mat was nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually, as I got old and through weightlifting and various things, I just destroyed my body basically. And I could talk guys through a move, but I couldn't show them how to do it anymore. And I didn't like that. I didn't like being able to, say my assistant coach, show them how. I wanted to be able to show them, not necessarily.
Now tell me, why couldn't you show them?
I couldn't move my knees. I couldn't get down on the mat with them because my knees hurt, or I couldn't run the move that I needed to because I couldn't crank my shoulder the way I needed to. So and not that I wanted to wrestle live with them, but as the head coach, I felt like I needed to be able to show them what I was talking about.
Lead by example.
Lead by example.
Yes.
That's exactly correct.
That's awesome. And within a matter of August, September, October, 3 months, you were back on the mat.
Yes, sir.
Pain-free?
Most of the time.
Awesome.
Most of the time.
Awesome.
I still have some scar tissue that when I was getting on the mat, that because my joints weren't used to moving that way quite yet.
That's right. That's right.
So when I got them,
everybody's going to hurt a little bit on the mat.
I got the scar tissue broke free, then I was fine.
You got some good range of motion now?
Yeah.
Let me see your shoulder. Let me see it. Nice.
And I'm reaching over my head, like to scratch the back of my head. And last August, before I had shots, I couldn't get to the top of my head. So
that's awesome. Hey, congratulations.
Yeah, no, thank you. It's very great.
Smart move.
Absolutely. That, it's good to see that sitting here. What the people, out there in radio land here in the wonderful Myrtle Beach can't see right now is the emotion in your face, the expression, you when you couldn't get on that mat, you truly missed it.
Yes,
something in your life was not there.
That? How long were you suffering being on that?
A couple of years at least, maybe longer than that, but I became head coach 3 years ago, and I had been out of wrestling for a couple of years because I actually started off in North Carolina and taught there for 30 years and retired, and then we moved down here, and I was helping with football at Carolina Forest and helping with wrestling. The wrestling coach stepped down, and I took over the head job, and it was then that I realized, I could do some stuff in football and not really have much problem, but when I started trying to run moves and stuff, I realized that my knees and my left shoulder were not what they had been.
Yeah, wrestling's a much more
dynamic,
strenuous sport than even football. So that's part of that discipline that you talk about there. So good to see.
This whole eye thing. Now, thanks, Dave. This whole eye thing. Cut it. I need you. But that's old. Now here's the thing. What are we talking about?
That's right. Get your mind right.
All right, here's the thing. Forrest Blake, head coach, wrestling, Carolina Forest. Oh, that's what I wanted to ask you. Tell everybody how old you are.
I turned 61 this summer.
Oh, 61. Wow.
And he's on the ground with teenagers.
I was thinking about that before I wasn't going to ask it. I let Dr. Scott ask it, but that's that I would not have thought you were that old. You've done very well for yourself. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes.
Now, let me tell you his most recent thing. All right, so he went a year, regenerated the shoulder and the knees.
Mm-hmm.
Doing good. I'd see him every day. I wouldn't see you too often. You come in and get a little tune up, check in, heat him up. Hey, Forrest, how's it going? Going good. And most recently he came in. I can't remember how it started, but he said, I'm ready to go to the next level. I'm going to cut some weight.
Ah.
All right. This is what you want my help? You got it. Just let me know what you got going on. I said, okay, we got level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. What do you want to do? Let's just start level 1. That was what, a week ago, 2 weeks ago?
A week ago Monday.
A week ago Monday. Tell him what happened.
Down 8 pounds.
He's down 8 pounds.
In a week.
Congratulations.
Oh, yes.
That's awesome. So where do you see, you're good with that? I can't remember your ultimate goal. You good with that? Where do you see you going with that?
My ultimate goal is to try to get around 250.
Okay.
I'd love at some point in time, way down the road. I played college football at 235.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind getting back to my playing weight.
Okay.
But what I'm really want is I found out when we moved down here that I had developed type 2 diabetes.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I've been told is if you lose 10% of your body weight, you're on your way to getting off of diabetes meds. And that's what I want. I really want to. I mean, I want to live a healthier lifestyle. I want to get off diabetes, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, the 3 killers.
Yeah,
3 number 1 killers. That's right.
And
metabolic syndrome is actually what it's called.
Yep.
The 3 in combination.
If I can do what I've been teaching my wrestlers for years and years and years, in a healthy way, so that I really, I don't want to call it a diet. I'm trying to do a lifestyle change.
There we go.
To where I'm eating the right foods, and one of the things I think people think about with a diet is they say you have to give up everything you love. Well, no, you just have to give it up other than just a little bit.
Moderation.
And then once you achieve your goals, you can add some of that back and see, where your fluctuations are and all that kind of stuff. And so, but my ultimate goal is to live a healthier lifestyle. So I'm in addition to what Dr. Scott's doing with level 1, I'm not running yet. At 300 pounds, it's a little hard on the knees still, but I'm fast walking for 30 minutes a day. And then every other day I do a 15-minute interval workout where I do 20 seconds of like kettlebell swings as hard as I can. Then I take a 20-second break, and then I'll do like kettlebell squats for 20 seconds as hard as I can, and take a 20-second break. And then I do that back and forth for 15 minutes.
That's awesome.
Yeah. You know what?
Did we talk about that? Did you and I talk about 20 seconds on, 20 seconds? Okay.
We did.
Cool.
Yeah. You know what I see, Dr. Scott? I see, a patient here who has benefited from the initial round of his injection. And, here's the adrenaline rush. It's still flowing good and strong. I mean, he's accomplished one thing in his life. He's moving on to the next. He's talking about lifestyle changes. He's not using the word diet. What you weigh on the scales is not what's important. Your lifestyle decisions are what truly make you what you are. Here's a good one for you. I don't think we've mentioned this one, but we've heard all our life, we are what we eat. Okay? Yep. And that's actually not accurate. We are what we eat that our body processes. What our body does not process is toxic, man. Yep. It's junk. It's poison.
Right.
So that's a very good way to look at it, Forrest, and that making these lifestyle changes are your big focus, and keeping it on an even plateau. Fantastic, man! Congratulations. You're a great representative of everything life has to offer. We can see the passion about the wrestling with the kids. Here, I've got a question for you. Throw you a little bit of a curveball. What are we looking at here in the future for Carolina Forest and the high school and the wrestling season?
Well,
because I know everybody out there.
I guess you're referring to the COVID,
yes,
right? The Chinese flu or whatever we call it.
Yes.
We don't know. That's
okay.
Easy. Now I will tell you what some other states are doing. In fact, I have some friends still in North Carolina. Mm-hmm. North Carolina's pushed every sport to the spring.
Yes, I heard that this morning.
Which kind of hurts us wrestling wise, because I went to 3 or 4 big tournaments in North Carolina every year to challenge my wrestlers.
Oh, wow.
And so their wrestling season now is April through June.
Yes.
And ours right now is still normal. I have a hard time it will stay that way, because I think given what the government and what everybody has told us about the coronavirus, wrestling will be the hardest sport
I can see that.
Because you're, unless you pin your guy in the first 10 seconds, you are constantly in contact with each other for up to 8.5 minutes.
Wow.
And sweating all over each other and
yes,
that kind of
stuff.
That's
unfortunate.
So I'm not sure how wrestling will end up this year. I hope, maybe they'll come up with a vaccine, or maybe in November it'll go away. Like I've heard some people say,
Hey.
After the election.
Would you happen to be implying that this could be politically related?
I've heard that.
I've heard it too.
I did.
One of the things, I'm not just a wrestling coach. I'm a history teacher.
Okay.
And so I have a little more interest in stuff like that because of how it impacts society and different things like that. So I'm I'm not a conspiracy theorist yet, but I'm not sure that this virus is as dangerous as it's been made out to be.
Okay. To the majority of people.
Majority of people.
Right.
And I will say, I am saying that, and I'm, in the bottom end of the upper age bracket that's supposedly threatened by this, and I have type 2 diabetes.
Yes.
And so I've taken the precautions, but I'm just not impressed enough by it yet, because
you're not a believer.
Well, I've run the numbers, and if you look at the numbers, and you can throw statistics, Will Rogers said there's 3 kinds of lies, right? Lies, dang lies, and statistics. and you can spin statistics about how you want to.
No doubt.
Agreed.
But I look at hard numbers, and the numbers to me just aren't there for the panic that's been generated. I'll leave it at that.
Well, talking about statistics and proving things, you, over a year now, have decided to make some decisions about your health so that you can avoid some of the pain and suffering that you have in your own body.
Correct.
And avoid the pain and suffering of not being able to do things that you feel responsible that you need to be able to do for your people, for your kids and your students.
That's correct.
And what you did is you learned about it, and there was only one thing to do, is just jump in. And the only way you know something is to experience it.
That's correct.
Now, I bring that up because you and I got in a talk. We got in a conversation, I don't know, maybe a week or two ago, about faith. And I kind of told you my story, being a scientist and understanding things, and how I kind of questioned my faith and the things I was raised on as a Christian. And then I told you I went through this phase of studying and looking and just jumping and trying to finding out the truth for myself.
Correct.
That's exactly what you did a little over a year ago. You gave me this book, The Case for Christ, and it reminded me. I'd read this book when we were talking about that. I said, I got to get my hands on stuff. And this guy, he didn't believe anything.
Correct. He was an
atheist. I kind of parallel myself with that. Not that I'm an atheist on any level, nor have ever thought about being. However, I question everything I learned, and even in health, everything that I've been through and acquired health I'm very skeptical about anything and everything, including regenerative medicine.
Right.
And I'm sure you had some questions and skepticism, just like everybody does, especially with an innovative industry. And so you got people listening to you. You're a role model. You're a role model to the kids. You're a role model to the parents of those kids. And you said you're at the lower bracket of that elderly population that we see a lot of, who are suffering in pain worse than you were.
Right.
What would you say to somebody who's kind of on the edge or questioning or skeptical about certain things? What would you say to them? Or what were some of the questions, or what did you go through to convince yourself, hey, I got to make the move?
Well, number one, once we went to your seminar at Rio's, that was a big draw. At being at Rio's, I love meat.
Yeah. Shout out to Rio's Orlando. We love you.
Good food.
If you haven't been, you got to go.
Amen. And so I once you did your presentation, I went and did some research on my own.
Okay.
On the internet, different things, and found out that what you had said, and I knew most of it, but I just wanted to back it up. I'm a person who likes second opinions, and so I found that second opinion that dovetailed with exactly what you told me. I didn't want to keep taking Tylenol arthritis the rest of my life, and as the I can't remember the young lady who came and did the show, the spotlight on us for a TV show.
Yeah. TV 15, Amanda Kinseth with WPD 15.
She, one of the things her little take, which was never an issue with me, was the opioid crisis.
Right.
And with people, it wasn't at that elderly generation. Sometimes Tylenol, aspirin, it's just not enough.
Right.
Just not enough to stop the pain. And so their doctor gives them a prescription for oxycodone or something like that, and it helps a little bit. But again, I'm not a scientist. I'm just a history teacher, but I study things, and I know that your body builds up a tolerance to stuff like that. And so you have to take a little bit more, and you have to take a little bit more, and eventually it can kill you. And so I didn't want to go down that road. And I saw this as the stem cell injections and what you had talked about in my research as a path to health, and not a path to just putting it down the road and having, as my dad has had, 2 knee replacements.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw this as a different path, that I didn't have to do that kind of stuff and depend on drugs.
Now, there was a risk. Now, with our regenerative medicine, there's really no risk of side effects at all. But there's a risk or potential chance of it not working.
Right.
And it wasn't cheap.
No, it was not cheap.
How'd you overcome that fear of potentially expending a resource and money to where it might, there's a chance. I mean, we don't see a whole lot of it not working.
Right.
But there's a chance.
Right.
How did you overcome a potential disappointment, a potential loss of time, a loss of resource, a loss of money, a loss of hope? How'd you overcome that?
Faith. That's the easiest way to say it. I prayed about it. My wife and I prayed about it. When I started teaching with Horry County Schools, and because I had my retirement from North Carolina, I did not take the South Carolina retirement plan.
Yep.
But you still have to take a kind of retirement plan. So I put all my money in an IRA. And last summer, I was 59 and a half, so I could draw it out without, but the first thing I did is I prayed about it, and I was at peace with it. And once I got at peace with it, then I had no doubts as to what I was supposed to do. I think I initially went to Rio's just to get the good food. Okay, I'm not gonna lie about it.
I'm with you. I understand.
But when I heard your testimonial and your PowerPoints and your spiel, it convinced me to at least give it a try, and I have never looked back. I've been very pleased with everything that I've decided in the last year or so.
So take yourself back a little over a year ago. If you had not decided to take action on that faith, if you had to, what do you think today would be like? What do you think it would be like today for you?
My shoulder would probably be worse. I'd be probably, before I came to you, I have a friend who's in my Sunday school class who is an orthopedic surgeon. He said, he took x-rays. He said, 10 years, you're going to have shoulder replacement. He said, that is the hardest replacement surgery there is.
Mm.
And I said, so I'm thinking, I would probably be well on my way to double knee and left shoulder replacement surgery.
How do you think that would affect your day-to-day life compared to what you're doing now?
Right.
You're talking about running, son.
Yeah.
You're talking about running.
Yeah. I obviously would not have been part of it.
That wouldn't even be part of the conversation.
Right. And I know, there are a lot of people who have successful knee replacements, shoulder replacements, that kind of stuff, and there are a lot who don't. But and now I will say this: my dad has had his knee replacements have been very successful. He's 81. He doesn't run. He still plays golf, but he doesn't run. I don't know if I'll be running when I'm 80 or not. But I just never wanted to go that route, because I have seen friends who had knee replacement and it was not a good situation. And to me, this was a risk, but the positives outweighed the negative, because stem cells are part of your body, and at worst, your body's just going to absorb them and spit them back out. It's not going to be like swelling and overreaction, or at least my opinion.
Yeah, you're right. There's no dangers. Like, if you do it, and there's nothing to lose, because you're not going to have this. You can't. There's no you can't undo it.
Right.
Or there's not. Yeah. I got you. Well, good. So you just took faith. Faith. Me and you kind of talk spiritual talk. Faith. You can have all the faith in the world, but if you don't take an action step, there's nothing there. Faith with action.
Right.
Is that's really where it's at. Right. And I'm proud of you for doing that. That is awesome. Because you're setting a standard for other people. Well, and you have sent people into our office, and they see how good you're doing, and it's already changed people's lives. So that's awesome.
So, Forrest, let me ask you a question real quick on relating to what you just said. As you were doing that research on the internet, how much positive information did you see? It's all hopeful. It's all, you go online and you do the research. It's not a bunch of negative stuff that stem cells don't work. Everybody's saying the research shows that it's positive. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
What percentage of it?
I would say at least 95%.
It's huge.
Of everything I read.
It is huge. Okay.
It's positive.
So we all know that you have all the apps and the websites out there that do this critiquing for services in the area. Okay. And when you look at stem cells and how much positivity is on the internet about it, you just can't deny it. Where we are lacking is where we go with it, just how good it can get. And it can only get much, much better. So, over the next, 2 to 3 years is one goal. Over the next 5 to 10 years is another goal. So it's exciting to see that. Let me ask you this real quick as well. If you were to have had any of those surgeries, do you think you would have ever gotten back on the mat with the kids again?
No, never.
Not a chance.
Not a chance. I mean, I have a friend in North Carolina who's a principal now, but he and I coached together. And he had knee replacement when he was in his 40s. His knees were so bad, and he already knew that sometime in his 60s he was going to have it done again because it was going to wear out.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said, I did not want that for me. I did not want that style of life.
Well, you got tens of thousands of people listening right now in the local area. If you had one last thing to tell everybody about faith and taking action and some things like that, what are the last things you would leave with somebody?
Well, number one, I'm constantly, what I do, I put my faith in God, trust in the Lord, then with His guidance and my wife, I always include her in that. We make a decision, and once we make that decision, we take that action. And I'm not going to say I look back. I don't. Once I make a decision based on faith, I move forward with it, and I will take whatever God has planned for me.
Thank you, Forrest. We got to wrap it up. Hey,
yes.
Thanks for trusting me. Thanks for trusting our team. Fulton, thanks for everything that you do as a part of
Forrest.
our team.
Thanks,
Big Roberts,
Scott.
you're the man.
Yeah.
Forrest, thank you, sir.
Thank you guys
Bye,
for having
everybody.
me.